one of the core themes at this year's forum is that of climate change and the environment. In fact, all the shuttle buses here in Davos have the green environment sticker. The Davos delegates are serious about climate change. Joining us now about the African perspective and where Africa fits within this continuum is South Africa's Minister of Water and Environmental Affairs, Edna Molewa. Thanks so much, Minister, for being with us. Everywhere you go at this year's forum, the emphasis is on the green agenda. Are we just talking green, or are we acting green as well?
From the African perspective, we're looking at this forum as a place where we're sharing views. Certainly a session like this, one that took place this morning, with people from all over the world, trying to find solutions as to how, and also making suggestions as to how we can go forward in resolving the problems of climate change in particular. So we have learned a lot, and we are learning a lot. As a host to COP17, definitely this is really a requirement. We will be moving with Africa as a continent. Obviously, whatever we do in the green economy development, water resource development, all those issues, we're looking at the entire Africa as a continent. And as a co-president this year, a host back in Durban, we really also would be working closely with Africa.
Right.
Yeah.
Africa is the most susceptible continent, we're told, to the changing ecological forces because we've got obviously high temperatures, but we've also got corroding soil and the sea water temperatures rising and all those kinds of things. And the emphasis now is on adaptation in Africa. It's no longer about how you can just mitigate and prevent things. It's about coping with the changing environment around us. Are we doing enough?
Very correct indeed. We as the African continent, together with the small island states, are really pushing very hard that we need to now walk the talk and not just talk, but really do something. If we look at Mexico, which by the way was a success, great success I must say, as compared to Copenhagen, we have a set of issues to be implemented. The fact that there's technological innovation and technology that's got to be transferred to Africa and the small state island is indeed for us a plus. And in South Africa, we've got to ensure that with that picture that you've just painted, that is prevalent in the African continent, we really use technology to the best of our ability to mitigate and also to deal with issues of adaptation in particular, because that's where the way to go.
Some of the sessions here at the World Economic Forum are emphasizing the importance of the agricultural economy, and this is where Africa also has a profile, because over 70% of Africans either live on farms, work on farms, or are related in one way or another to a farming economic structure. And the vulnerability of small-scale farmers to the environment is one element, and then of course to international commodity prices and other issues like that. What are we saying about the African farmer, food security and environmental issues?
We're really quite concerned indeed, and this is the reason why we're saying that we should do a lot in terms of mitigation. That Africa on its own is, majority of the countries in Africa are good food producers, potentially high. And we also have a market. And we know that also that the entire world is now focusing on Africa for a market. And indeed, we need to ensure that we are food secure as a continent. There's a lot of degradation on land, and we've got to look at that as well. Introduce the mechanisms within agriculture of saving water, good irrigation systems, pesticides control, those kinds of things. Really, even GMOs. Look at a whole spectrum of other issues that can be able to help us to be food secure, but without impacting negatively on the environment. That's a really very important thing. So that's why even within the climate change, we move along with agriculture as a very fundamental component of the work that we do, as well as the energy. Because whatever we do, whether we have to look at production, pumping stations, water from pump stations and all, we require energy. And it's got to be also energy efficient.
Profitability for African farmers is the one big issue, and we're seeing most grain prices rising at the moment, so there's also the threat of food inflation. That's one issue. But the second issue is profitability can't come if we don't invest in economies of scale. we need to do something about creating large farming estates in Africa so that when we're selling African produce internationally, we're really maximizing the gains of rising commodity prices. And this is not happening. What are you doing to address issues around investment in the agricultural economy?
Well, let me just step back a bit. We also once again concerned about the rising food prices. When we left home, there were floods, as opposed to here in Davos, where there's snow, there were floods. And in the midst of that flooding situation, you have drought at the same time. So we can't say with confidence that indeed wherever we're going, without any intervention, where we are going is a potential of an increase of food prices. And that's a problem. We need to actually mitigate, help those farmers. But beyond that, long term, we need to look at issues that you mentioned. Indeed, also ensure that the existing farmers, who are large-scale farmers, commercial, are also assisted. By the way, this also has to do with the WTO discussions, the fact that there's got to be a market. But I earlier on said that we are a market back home. We need to also move to do intertrade within Africa itself.